What is up, everyone? JD here. Hope you're all doing well today. Today I'm excited to bring you my full review of the Schrade Radox. This one here is the one I'm actually most excited about out of all the knives Schrade sends over for me to handle and take a look at. What we'll be doing today is going into specifications, size comparisons, thoughts, and impressions. Before I get into the specifications, this is part of their Alpha class lineup of made in the USA knives with premium materials being offered, which I really am excited to see. I love the fact that we have manufacturers trying to bring their production back to the US, and I really hope they listen and take in feedback for anything that we provide back to them so that they can adjust and continue to draw interest from the community. This has a 3.75-inch S35 VN blade steel with a satin finish, 5-inch steel handles with carbon fiber overlays, overall length 8.75 inches, claimed weight is 4.2 ounces. Let's go ahead and check that weight out now. All right, let's see here. So coming in at 4.5. So that's the first thing that I'm going to say is all of the knives that I have reviewed from Schrade that they've sent along, they have come in a little bit heavier than the advertised weight. What we're going to be doing next is going into size comparisons. So let's go ahead and bring those out to help you understand the size of this knife. First, I'm going to bring out the Demco AD 20.5, lining up the pivots here so you can see handle length, blade length, and then the Spyderco Shaman. As you can see, this knife is actually going to be larger than both. So really interesting. This is definitely a full-sized hard use knife in my opinion. Let's go ahead and move these two out of the way, and then we'll bring out the next two size comparison knives. That is going to be the Benchmade Bug Out, lining up the pivots again, and then we're going to bring out the Hogue Sig K320, and you can see again the Radox is actually larger than both of these knives. So hopefully you're getting an idea of one of the reasons why this knife here has really excited me. Last but not least, let's go ahead and bring out the budget knives. We have the Kubi KU321 sub 3-inch knife. You can see the Radox just dwarfs this, and we're going to go ahead and bring out the Buck 110. Sorry, I had left it open from the last review, so I just wanted to close that so I can bring it out and have the dramatic unfolding. Hopefully this is helping you with an idea for the size of this knife. Now let's go ahead and move the Buck 110 out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and do thickness profile. So here you can see it's a little bit thinner than the KU321, and if you watch my review of the Truex, you know that the Truex was the same thickness as the Royal. So this is actually coming in thinner than the Truex. Here it is against the Demco AD 20.5, slightly thicker. We'll bring out the Bug Out, slightly thicker, and we'll bring out the Shaman, which it is going to be just a skosh thinner. Yeah, just a skosh thinner. Not too bad. Let me go ahead and jump into thoughts and impressions. We're going to start with the ergos. This knife is extremely comfortable with zero hot spots whatsoever. My wife ordered a whiteboard for the upstairs bedroom that we converted to an office. It used to be my daughter. She moved out, so she converted it to her home office. And that was a big box, and I did a lot of, cutting and pushing through. The only place I would find that I felt something was right here on this corner. It was just a little sharp, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It didn't make it, like I didn't want to use the knife. I just felt it that it was there. Really nice and comfortable, really nicely chamfered. The liners are even. I think I would have liked them to either stand proud or maybe be nested, I think would be the only thing that I could say that would make this even better, but it is really good. Looking at the marbled carbon fiber, it does have voids in it, but that is just the process and what happens with carbon fiber when you're making these type of materials. You do find that they have little voids in them, and again, that's just because of the process and how it's manufactured. That's not really anything that's on Schrade or that Schrade could have done about it. You see these little voids here. Nothing that they could really do about it, but it is very beautiful. It does hit the light and reflect back a little bit at certain angles. I think it looks really, really good. I also think for this particular model, I would have loved to see them black out the hardware and the liners. I don't really like this. I would have preferred that it just been the handle material going all the way through and not have the lanyard. This is big enough to where it really doesn't need it. Or if you really want to offer the lanyard, you could do the barrel, right? You could just drop the barrel in there just like you do with the stop pin. I don't think it would really ruin anything. Just take this material all the way to the end, and I really think it cuts down your manufacturing because you don't have to do this extra cutting here on both the materials to get this lanyard out in the back. I think that would have looked so much cleaner without those on there. Just my opinion. Now, going back to the pocket clip, blacking it out would have helped, but I honestly would have preferred what you saw on the Truex, which was the fold over style clip. I think it would have worked a little bit better. And then this is a little too bull-nosed. You need to just kind of slightly ramp it back and ramp it up because it wants to catch going in and out. So the pocket clip's a bit of a miss there for me. I don't really like the satiny finish of everything on here. I think it makes it look cheaper even though this is a more premium knife. I think spending a little bit of extra money to have the flatter button here in the pivot and blacking out the hardware on this really makes it look good and complements that carbon fiber that you have on here tremendously. But those are just the minor complaints that I have on here. Really overall, the build quality from the materials and everything that's being put on here is really well done, and I like that a lot. You have the same thumb studs and crossbar lock studs that you have on the Truex on this knife, so they're very comfortable and they work really, really well. Now, as with any of the crossbar lock knives that I have had on the channel, you can obviously overcome the lock with a little bit of momentum. And I have a feeling that the Omega springs are probably the same that they are on the Truex. They feel exactly the same. So with the heavier blade, I feel like you find that you have more of that mushy area on it because you're not having enough tension. Having said that, you can pick up on Etsy and on Amazon a set of aftermarket Omega springs that are going to be heavier, and they're going to really help secure that in there, and they're going to change the way that that feels. But the action's fine. Actually, the action's really good on this. Really, really good. Now, the jimping is in a pretty good space or spot for the size of my hand. Works really well. My hand lands pretty much on it with the tip kind of coming over a little bit. This works great for utility and draw cuts. It is nice and thin. Really nice and thin. I really, again, wish they would just take that flat grind all the way up. Just take it all the way up. This thing would be even more slicier than what it already is. Now, unlike the Truex, this one here came factory with a awesome edge, and this is after breaking down that 4x3 foot box for the whiteboard that my wife ordered. So really good edge on here. I'm not sure what just happened there, but it does have a fantastic edge on it. And this is, again, after a lot of breaking down of that cardboard. Maybe I do have a little bit of a blemish there. It's catching. But let's see. I can't feel it. But really good edge from the factory. They did a good job. Like when I tested it before I did all that cutting, it came razor sharp. Really, really good. And it just feels better. Geometry wise, the Truex did. This does feel way more slicey, and it does look like it even has, it's a dainty tip. It does get down to a fine point, which I really think that shows that they have the capability of doing that. I love the finishing grinds being on there. I don't even mind that it's a bit of a fingerprint magnet. I really think that looks good. Better than the Bead Blast on the Truex for sure. Branding on here is pretty much the same as what you see on the Truex. It doesn't look too bad, especially now that it's the same size on a larger knife. I think that looks pretty good. Does have ceramic bearings in the pivot, and man, that action is really smooth. Really, really smooth. It just wants to fall into place. I think even closed, it has a nice profile. You can't get to the tip in any kind of way, so it's tucked in there nicely. Man, I really just think that handle scale and blacking out the hardware, I think that really would have made this one shine even more. And I like it. I like it a lot. Again, really comfortable carries. It feels good in carry. It is pretty well balanced too. I think the center point is a little back in that finger choil. I know it's hard to, my fingers are off there, but I think that's pretty balanced because that's right about where the finger goes in there. So really nice and feels really good. Again, some of the alternative recommendations. Oh, I almost forgot. So on Knife Center, it's coming in at $209.95, which I think carbon fiber over the G10 on the Truex, which was $168, and you're getting a larger knife. You're getting more steel, and I think it's the better looking out of the two. That's my personal opinion. You may disagree, but I'm gonna just again throw out. You can get for under $190, you can get the aluminum S30V variant of the SIG K320. So these are some of the knives that you're competing with, and the S30V variant of the Shaman. I think now is what, 210? I think it's 210 now. So right at the same price point as the Shaman, but it's a bigger knife, and you do have that Wharncliffe blade shape, which I think is a really good utility blade, and it's really got, you know, it came with a really good edge. The only one that was a little wonky was the Truex, and again, that had a more robust geometry, so I'm not sure if that is playing a factor as to why I needed to strop that one. I did not need to do it with the Slights. I did not need to do it with the Alchemist, but I did have to strap up the Truex, but not this one. This one came with a great edge. I really like this knife. I like the looks. I like the build quality. I think pocket clip, blacking out the hardware and carrying the scale material all the way to the end on this knife would have made this a home run. This would be, in my opinion, the best knife that they have in their Alpha class lineup. Having said that, I did share when I did the Truex what was in the Alpha class, so I do want to kind of show that as well. So down here you can see this is the Radox. They have the Truex, which I had out here earlier. They have the Entice auto folder, and then they have the Melee auto folder in addition to the Alchemist. So they have a couple of autos and a couple of crossbar lock knives in the lineup, and I think that that's a pretty solid start to your American folder lineup. Do I recommend this knife? Yes. This is definitely my favorite of all the ones they sent to me. I think the Schrade carbon fiber looks really nice. I think they did a good job there. They can't help the voids. That's just the way that the processing of the material happens. For me personally, I would have loved blacked out hardware, and I would have liked the fold over clip on here. I think those are my two complaints. Everything else, really well done. I think the thumb studs on here are pretty nice. A little bit pokey, but not at the point to where if you're fidgeting with it repeatedly, your finger's gonna hurt. You're just gonna feel that pokiness in hand as you're using it. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor. If you could leave a like, consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. If you are subscribed, thank you for your continued support. I appreciate all the likes and comments from you guys out there. I love each and every one of you. I hope you have a fantastic week, and until next time, peace.